Rose and Grace had always been close. Though technically cousins, they grew up more like sisters. In the bustling streets of Ilorin, they were known as the Inseparables. When Rose got admitted into Kwara State Polytechnic, it felt only natural for her to move in with Grace, who was already living off campus. The small one-room apartment they shared wasn't much, but it was full of laughter, late-night gist, shared meals, and dreams about the future. Grace was the older one, 28, confident, and street-smart. She always looked out for Rose, giving her advice about life, love, and men. She would often say, "Rose, don't ever let a man distract you from your goals. They'll come and go, but your dreams will always be yours." And then there was Mike, Grace's boyfriend. A charming young man with a soft smile and a way of making everyone around him feel special. He was the kind of man who brought food over when he visited, made jokes that left everyone in stitches, and seemed to genuinely care for both sisters. Rose admired him quietly at first. She would watch how he treated Grace and think, "I hope I find a man who loves me like this one day." But Mike had a way of lingering just a little too long when he looked at her. At first, Rose brushed it off. But soon, their conversations became more personal. When Grace was out running errands, Mike would sometimes stay back, chatting with Rose. He encouraged her dreams, told her she was beautiful in a way no one had before, and made her feel seen. It started with stolen glances. Then secret smiles. Then, a night they both swore they wouldn't talk about. From that moment, Rose's life began to shift. What felt like love started to bloom, fragile but intoxicating. She told herself it was wrong, but the heart doesn't always obey. Weeks later, she realized she was pregnant. Rose wanted to tell Mike, to see if he'd stand by her. But before she could, Grace found out. That happy, fragile bubble of trust between the sisters and Mike shattered in a single evening. It was supposed to be a season of celebration for Rose and her family, having graduated after spending 4 years in college. Rose, a fresh graduate of Kwara State Polytechnic, had just signed out of school barely 6 days earlier. She was only 22, beautiful, ambitious, and full of dreams. Her next step was simple: NYSC, then a job, then maybe a family someday. But instead of returning home to Ilorin, she decided to stay back a little longer, enjoying the last few days of campus freedom with her cousin and roommate, Grace. On the surface, they were inseparable. 2 sisters living together, sharing meals, laughter, and secrets. But there was one secret Rose could no longer hide. She'd been sleeping with her cousin's boyfriend. Now, she was pregnant. And the man responsible for that pregnancy? The same guy, Grace's boyfriend Mike. That evening, in their small rented room, Grace found out the truth. "Why him?" she screamed. "You know he's mine. How could you?" Rose, pale but defiant, whispered, "I love him, and I won't abort this baby." "Really?" Grace replied, trembling. That statement shattered everything. Love turned into rage. Jealousy became madness. And in one terrifying moment, Grace made a decision she would regret for the rest of her life. Her mind snapped. In a blind fit of anger, she grabbed the nearest thing she could find, a pair of scissors sitting on the table beside her. Before Rose could even react, the blade sank deep into her. Rose collapsed, gasping, clutching her stomach. The room went silent, except for her fading breath. Any normal person would have rushed her to the hospital, called for help. But Grace? She just sat there, staring, watching her cousin bleed out. Grace sat stiffly on the edge of the bed, her face frozen in shock. One hand gripped the mattress tightly, the other loosely covering her mouth, regret beginning to creep in. Her eyes were wide and haunted, staring blankly at her cousin on the floor. The room felt heavy and cold, with only the faint hum of the outside world leaking in through the thin walls. There was guilt, disbelief, horror. But then, anger and hatred drowned everything else. It wasn't until the neighbors heard the screams and burst in that the horror was discovered. Rose lying in a pool of her own blood. They rushed her to the nearest hospital. She was still alive, barely. Doctors begged for blood. Friends donated. 1 bite, 2 pints, 3. But it was too late. The young woman who had just celebrated her graduation was gone. While everyone was desperately trying to save Rose's life, Grace packed a few things and disappeared. She ran, left everything behind, and now, the police are looking for her. Her name is on wanted lists. Some say she escaped Ilorin entirely. Some say she's hiding with relatives. Others believe she's already dead, silenced by guilt. But one thing is certain: she killed her sister for a man who didn't even love her enough to stay. And now, that same man, Mike, is rumored to already be seeing someone else. Even while he was sleeping with 2 cousins. A young woman lost her life. A family lost 2 daughters. And all for what? Jealousy. Betrayal. A man who was never worth it. Grace thought she was fighting for love. But in the end, she fought for nothing but shadows. Because love built on betrayal always ends in blood. Would you kill your own sister for love? If you think this was shocking, trust me, there's more. If you were Grace, would you have acted differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading every single one. And if you're still here, you're exactly the kind of person who loves the truth, no matter how dark it gets.